Welcome to the first podcast shot entirely in VR.
This is Elevated Studios.
We've talked to some of the Horizon creators about the concept of blockchain and NFTs within this realm, and everyone seems to be all for it. Facebook doesn't quite integrate it quite yet, but this show is actually going to be kind of our first dive into that space as we welcome on a guest from Boson Protocol. They're using NFTs for real-world products, but in the virtual realm. So we're going to welcome up Holly to the stage and get into the show. There you go, Kev.
What's up, Holly?
Hi, Holly.
Hi.
Be all set. Boom, boom. Got the thumbs up. You're killing it.
Welcome, Holly. Glad to have you on here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So just to kick things off today, just a little intro on Boson coming from you yourself, and just what being the head of Metaverse tech for Boson consists of and what you enjoy about it.
Absolutely. I mean, it is the coolest job title in the world, right? Head of Metaverse Tech. So Boson Protocol is a blockchain protocol that is building the blocks for decentralized commerce. And by that, I mean providing the fundamental infrastructure for a new framework for fairer transactions for physical items between buyers and sellers, particularly in relation to metaverse commerce. And this is where my role really ties in.
Yeah, so just going into blockchain a little bit and decentralization for some of our audience members that aren't quite familiar with it. I mean, blockchain, it's growing more and more, and just the concept of it being decentralized was a topic I really wanted to touch on, and just why that is important for the consumer.
Blockchain provides a secure digital ledger for transactions to be recorded in a transparent way, right? And with that, it enables the use of non-fungible tokens. So we've seen recently this huge NFT craze, and now we're also seeing this, metaverse craze as well, with everyone talking about virtual worlds. And what the blockchain is doing is it is providing that transparency as well as decentralized incentive mechanisms for us to build on top of that to provide the actual protocol for buyers and sellers to, as I've mentioned already, to transact in a much fairer way that will ultimately empower new kinds of business models, revenue streams, and that will hopefully make transactions fairer for the creator economy by driving value back into that. And that's because you don't have these hugely extractionary intermediaries. The protocol itself is doing that in the background.
Yeah. So I know everyone is familiar with just Amazon, Facebook, kind of your Web 2.0 giants. And one thing they are ridiculed for is the collection of our data and us getting no reward from that. And so Boson, it's completely decentralized, autonomous, to where, like you were saying, it's just more equal, it's more fair. And just curious, as far as data goes as well, is that going to be something that's still worked into the shopping experience, or is the consumer going to be monetized for their data potentially, or how's that going to work?
It's such a great question around data. So to start with, the fundamentals of Boson Protocol really enable a seller to tokenize the commitment to provide a physical item to the buyer. And that is the transaction is carried out using the Boson Protocol escrow mechanism and game theory behind the scenes. And this is what makes it fairer for all parties over time. You can see how that then will need to factor in things like reputation, potentially proof of humanity. And you're very right, as that will also touch on a lot of consumer data eventually. Initially, we're focused on providing a familiar user experience, if you like, in terms of the end-to-end purchase process that doesn't so much touch on sensitive data. And this is possible because of the existing interface that we have in something like Decentraland, where we're looking to launch our beachhead project called Portal, and this is leveraging the Ethereum technology where everybody can log on with something they're familiar with, like email or an Ethereum address. In terms of getting your item shipped to you, you will be asked through the user interface to provide that information, but in a very familiar way. And over time, we'll build out the data economy behind that, through our tokenomics model.
Awesome. Yeah. So just laying the foundation now. And this actually kind of leads into our next talking point as well. You brought up Decentraland. And Kev and I have been following Decentraland really since probably the start of this year, January, February. And just on our Twitter feed, we noticed someone bought $700,000 worth of land within Decentraland. And we were like, okay,
Just this.
there we go. But yeah, we noticed that purchase and kind of went down the rabbit hole on like, man, like that's a lot of real money. So like, how are they going to get that back? How does that tie into whoever's business model this is? And ended up being you guys. So going back to the portal, it's kind of going to be like a mall, but within the metaverse, to where, like, just to put it in very simplistic terms, like, let's say, like, my mom recently redid her house. Like, let's say I wanted to go with mom and see furniture virtually. Like, I could potentially check it out in the mall and use your guys' commitment token to potentially purchase a real life couch, but within the metaverse. Is that kind of what you guys are going for?
That's exactly what we have in mind. And that's such an excellent example. You can really use the sort of 3D imagery that Decentraland enables to see that couch in lots of different colors, from lots of different angles. But you can do all of this from the comfort of your own home by logging on. And for me, this makes it incredibly accessible maybe to more people. And if you think about, during the pandemic, people haven't been able to go out and do these normal things that we're all used to. So I'm super excited because this is exactly the sort of interactive experience that I really believe will open up commerce to many people in an entirely new way.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, you guys are, it's a win-win for consumers because you guys are kind of on the breaking edge of all these new virtual technologies, but then you're on the breaking edge of just Web 3.0, decentralization, and really being for the consumer instead of for the organization. But I'm just kind of curious, like, within the mall, what projects do you think would thrive the best? Like, the ones that came to my mind were furniture, clothes, or even some sort of real world service and like booking appointments. But I didn't know if there were any that excited you.
Yeah. I think they're all possible, right? So we are initially focused on, building out our MVP. So it will leverage this Web3 interface, and we will bring in, an initial partner, and we'll build up to bigger brands, and we'll look to tie that in with more traditional Web 2 brands over time.
Yeah.
Initially, I'm super excited because we're going to be working with Ouroboros. They are an incredible digital fashion brand, and we're going to build on that so that we have a digital to physical experience with Ouroboros. And this will be digital fashion. So can you imagine a huge market for digital fashion? And over time, I think other tech companies are going to really build on this kind of virtual reality toolkit. So you'll be able to see how items will fit you a lot better. You'll be able to see what you look like in different items in a newer way that we can't even imagine yet, because it's all going to be built and it's all going to come together in the metaverse. You'll be able to look at your rooms in your home in a new way, using that same sort of technology stack, over time. And I think that, this will play into mixed reality as well, with maybe, new physical items that you'll have at home with you that you'll, loop into your metaverse experience somehow. So I think that's super exciting. It's incredible because we actually don't know. We don't know what that looks like yet, but it's going to happen really, really soon, I think.
I mean, it sounds like in the scheme of things, you guys would like to move towards, a virtual environment. Because as of right now, DCL is solely on desktop currently. But from your knowledge, do you know if that is a plan to move into a headset so I can actually come into the mall and experience these mixed reality experiences and things like that?
I certainly hope so. I mean, just this experience here is absolutely incredible, and this is exactly how I envisage metaverse commerce going forwards, where you have a much better physical feel, and you're really truly immersed in that experience, 100%.
Yeah, because like now you shop for everything just on a 2D screen, to where like even the chair you're sitting in now, like we can spin that around, we can, like you said, change colors, do all sorts of stuff. And this thought
Mm.
actually just came to my mind. It'd be really cool to integrate like augmented reality with Boson as well, to where like I'm just using my phone, I can drop in a chair, or maybe like down the road AR glasses. And I think Boson would have a huge potential in that realm as well. Just you're still gonna have to tokenize those items, and you're gonna want to do it in a decentralized way. But sorry, that thought just
Absolutely.
came to me. But
No, it's a great thought. We want to be the go-to digital to physical protocol for all sorts of transactions to do with physical items in the real world. But as you've correctly identified, that relates to services in the real world as well, and the commitment to deliver upon those. So really, with Portal as our build in Decentraland, we're looking to build out all of these experiences over time. And yeah, they're going to encompass, let's say, digital fashion experiences, but also events in the space, social
yes,
occasions with, a bit like this, where you meet people, your connections, you can hang out, you can have a conversation. And it's a new way of immersing yourself to not just buy stuff, but to engage with your community, and to have experiences, particularly where you're not necessarily going to find that in real life as easily. Like, say you have to isolate, or you're sick, or you can't physically travel. These are all situations that are very familiar to us at the moment. And I
right.
think these situations are increasingly relevant.
And even this past week, Facebook came out with workspaces with your Horizon avatars, and that was crossing my mind, especially for like some of these Web 3.0 companies or NFT communities. Like everyone is all over the world. Like I don't know how many
Yeah,
guests I've DM'd where like they're in London, like they're in the US, they're in Australia, and it's just wild. Like the community location doesn't seem to be a factor, but it would be really nice, like you said, to have the events to where like you and I are talking and it's no different than if we were sitting in a normal office room right now or a
It really
normal
feels
studio.
like we are in the same space, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
100%. But so yeah, just with Boson, I know the portal is in its very early stages still, but could you kind of walk through what that's gonna look like once the portal is constructed? Like how will the shopping experience go from the moment you walk into the door through like a sort of checkout phase?
Absolutely. And we just announced actually our partnership with Polygonal Mind. We're working with Polygonal Mind to build out this whole experience. They're amazing. The scenes that they've built for us and experiences they're building for us. I'm so excited about that. And in terms of the purchase experience, you will be able to browse items. You'll be able, and those items, as I've mentioned, could be anything. You'll be able to click on an item, go up to an item, however you interact with that item in Decentraland, and you'll see the information about that thing, whether it's a jacket or a piece of furniture, or it could be a beverage, even if in a kind of event space, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you'll see the information about that item, and you'll be presented with the option to buy. When you buy, what will happen is your crypto money, your funds will be transferred to the Boson escrow mechanism. And also within the Boson escrow mechanism, according to the current version of the protocol, there's a deposit from the seller that's being held in there. And I'll come back to that shortly. So as a buyer, you're going to go ahead and you're going to buy this item in Decentraland. And what that means is you'll receive an NFT that is your commitment token. And then you'll be able to navigate to your wallet and see that NFT. And you'll be able in the Boson Protocol interface, so a separate app, say to the Decentraland window or tab that you're in, you'll be able to see all of your purchased items and the status of them. So you'll see that you've bought this commitment token, but you haven't redeemed it yet. Maybe you want to do a bit of trading on the commitment token, and that's something we're looking to enable in future. But effectively, you can decide when to redeem that thing and have it shipped to you or provided to you in a real world space. And when you redeem the item, that is going to notify the seller that they need to ship the item. So that is when you'll be asked to provide all of the usual information like shipping address and stuff like that. And then there'll be some sort of way for you to get an update on that process, like you would normally. So that is the actual kind of flow in terms of your buyer journey. And in terms of the seller journey, what happens is upon redemption, you will receive the buyer payments. And at the end of the whole process, if the whole process has been a positive one, the buyer is happy with the item and the seller has provided the correct thing with no damage or issues, everybody receives deposits back fairly. So everybody is incentivized to behave correctly, and the buyer is happy and the seller has a good reputation over time as well. So you can see that it's the Boson Protocol escrow mechanism that's really enabling this new kind of transaction. And there's nobody in the middle like an Amazon or another massive monopoly that's going to take a huge chunk of your funds away.
Basically, like, will the Boson coin, will that be the payment, um, currency essentially, or would you be using like a layer two or mana, or how's that gonna transact?
We're looking to follow very much in Decentral Games' footsteps here. They have an incredible interface and they've enabled a whole bunch of currencies. So we're ultimately looking to do the same and adapt that so that we will add in the Boson token. We will sell different items in different currencies, I imagine, depending on who the partner is, what the item is. But absolutely, the Boson token functionality is going to be in there. And you touched on layer twos as well. We are looking to, and we're building, in fact, with Polygon as our layer two scalability solution, very much in the same way as Decentral Games Casino as well. It means that we'll use meta transactions because the Decentraland interface relies on the Ethereum mainnet connection. And in order to work with Polygon within that, we need to have some stuff happening behind the scenes so that it isn't overly complex for users, but that has a really positive impact for the users in terms of the funds and the speed of the transactions. So they'll see lower costs associated with purchases, and they'll see quicker transactions as well. There will be the need to port funds across to layer two to use those funds, but that's something that's very familiar through the user interface. It's already embedded in Decentraland projects, in things like Decentral Games Casino. They have a website that has similar functionality. So we expect that this process is going to feel quite comfortable to a lot of users. And of course, we'll be providing a lot of information and guidance to everybody to make this a really positive and an easy experience.
Go ahead.
It sounds like Decentraland was just a really nice fit for you guys to just integrate into what they kind of had going, and you guys can, blossom your own spin on the things for your own business plan. But, we talked about this a little bit. Why Decentraland versus some of the other metaverses that you can purchase land and have your own currency in there as well?
Such a great question. So when people talk about virtual worlds and metaverses, there are there are kind of a top four that usually come to mind. Effectively, what we were looking for what was the most important point for us initially is the smart contract functionality that's being provided. For us, it was what provides the right kind of quality land environment, the quality scene where we're going to be able to provide images and 3D renderings of these physical items in a really kind of interesting and engaging way. So Decentraland has that. They have the imagery. They have effectively like an open space as well. It's more engaging to be able to explore at your leisure across the different parts of the space. That's something that was really important to us. The quality of our neighbors in the space. So we're in Vegas City. Decentral Games Casino is we have such huge respect for them as pioneering technology in Decentraland, and we have a lot to learn from these guys in the space. So yeah, absolutely, it had everything we were looking for, and enough space as well for us to build out our ambitions, really.
Is Boson open to working with a platform like Horizon if these Web 2.0 companies do start opening up a little bit? Because I know talked about wanting to be more interoperable, but I didn't know if you guys would be opening to partnering with like a Horizon or an alt space.
Absolutely. I mean, we're happy to engage with all kinds of partners to push forward decentralized commerce, particularly through the metaverse. And Horizon is such a great example of a 3D space that's a much more immersive experience. I think for us, the compatibility with Boson Protocol is key. We're obviously a blockchain protocol, so we need to take that into account. It doesn't necessarily work immediately with lots of tech in the space or at the moment because it doesn't necessarily have that blockchain capability. But yeah, I mean, we're very open and excited about all sorts of opportunities to partner with the incredible projects going on. And I should add that we also have a grants program. So if anybody has ideas of their own for propelling forward metaverse commerce, decentralized commerce, and integrating with our technology, we would absolutely love to hear from anybody, as well as about any contributions to our open source tech as well.
Awesome. And sorry, I'm going down like different rabbit holes that we were talking about here, but just kind of tying back to the layer 2, I think, like you said, the fees with Matic being next to none is so important, because like in the normal NFT space right now, with like the profile picture craze going on, like to mint these items and to purchase these, like you can be paying gas fees close to $100 USD, to where like it doesn't make sense for a company like Boson to have that hurdle. So switching to a layer 2, I think, is very crucial. So that's very good to hear. But
it's a really critical observation, and especially you imagine when we're a few months down the line and we have many retail partners with loads of items actually being sold through the metaverse, the volume of transactions is picking up. You're going to need that speed. You're going to want that capacity for the volume of transactions. And you're not going to want, as a consumer, you're not going to want to have large fees every time you transact, because you don't have those in real life. So why would you want them in the metaverse, right?
Perfect. Yes. Yeah, so it's still very early. I mean, when you compare like the market cap of Boson versus Amazon, you guys, there's a lot of middle ground there that you guys could catch up on. So,
absolutely.
I see it happening though.
Yeah. Amazing.
So, but yeah, that's really a wrap for today. That's all I got. Kev, if you got anything, but
I just want to thank Holly to coming out, representing Boson and the whole community. We really appreciate your time spending with us, teaching and teaching our audience members today. So a big round of applause for Holly.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please give us a follow, subscribe, or tip on our socials at elevatedXR. Thanks, and see you next time.